if you keep fighting, if you keep getting in the ring, if you keep getting punched, there's two things that's going to happen. You're going to end up covered in bruises, or you're going to learn to move better.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Leadership Stack Podcast, the podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs to increase your leadership, teamwork, and profits. This is your host, Sean C., aka Mr. CEO at 22. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today we have Mr. David Angel, and this guy, he is known as the Sales Angel. And if you're ever going to be looking for him online, just type Sales Angel. It's going to be very visible. This guy is one of the best salespeople out there with over 12 million euros in sales. And it's just amazing when you hear people who have that much revenue in sales. I personally haven't had that mark. This guy knows his stuff, and I am super excited to learn from him today. We've done the pre-show earlier, which you guys missed because I wasn't recording, and I already learned a lot. So I'm sure you guys listening in here would learn a lot today. David, thank you so much for being here on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. And what we want to know, and this is usually the first question that I ask, kind of like to warm you up, is what was your entrepreneurial journey like? Now, I know that you might have one or two entrepreneurial journeys because I've read your background, but what was the first one like? Because that often is the most exciting.
Mine's quite funny because a lot of people talk about the Gary V's of the world will talk about the lemonade stands and that romantic. I always knew I'd be an entrepreneur, which is amazing. I love it. I'm jealous about the people that had that way. I wasn't that guy. I failed on all the stuff I tried as a kid. I was terrible. The lemonade stands were awful. Maybe I just lived in an area where no one wanted to buy. Like, we tried all those little things, and they just were rubbish. The car washing, we used to go around doing washing cars and stuff like that. One, we weren't great at washing cars, so no one wanted to have us come back again. Two, we just kept getting really awkward people, but they genuinely, we were like 12. And they wanted you to polish the car. And we're like, you were just going around trying to wash a few. People want you to do a full detail on a car when you were 12. Like, really crazy stuff. So my experiences weren't great with it. So I didn't really make great money. I wasn't confident going up to people's doors to ask them, even if I knew them. So I was almost restricting myself with stuff. But a lot of the things I did in those early years ended up being the lessons I learned for later on. I had a really interesting video today. A kid called Charlie. I don't know if you've seen him on social media. He had a tumor. He was overweight. He's doing loads of charity work in the States at the moment. It's crazy, like blowing up, making huge money, getting massive donations, giving it away. And he said, it's really interesting. We can either look at the world and be paranoid about things, or we can be pro-annoyed. Something like that, he said it. And what he was saying was like, why is this happening to me? Or what is the world giving me? And the real line I liked about it was, Santa only ever delivers presents in the dark. And it makes me realise there are a lot of stuff out there, how true it is. So a lot of the stuff I learned from being terrible at stuff were teaching me the things not to do. I just didn't know it at that time. I think with things like sales, you've got to break your back with cold calling or knocking on doors or working in a crap sales job. Some people just magic their way into a good job. Cool. But you won't be the first company that goes, well, good luck to you. A lot of people don't. And I think you have to get your practice hours in. And I think a lot of my practice hours, I got the rubbish hours at the start. So I didn't really enjoy it that much. And I stopped. I was put off it by the time I was sort of 13. I became a chef and went all in on that. So it's a funny one because a lot of people expect to hear this big hero. I came in, I spent my time, I did my lemonade stand, I made £1 million, I brought the lemonade farm, I sold that for 20 million, and it wasn't that way at all. I tried stuff, didn't work, but this is the thing I look back now on. I never gave it 100%, ever. I didn't try the lemonade stand 100%. I didn't try to wash the cars to the best I could. I got hyped up, and this is what a lot of people get guilty on, by the idea of the car washing thing. And we do this with our goals a lot. I think. But a lot of people get the rush from looking at a goal, like say you're looking at a £5 million house. Yeah, imagine being here, imagine living there. And they do all this in their head, and they get that dopamine rush from the idea. People that achieve their goals only get the dopamine rush when they achieve it. So for me, I got the dopamine rush as a kid from the idea rather than from the execution, and that was the downfall.
How did it look like going from where you were? You mentioned that you were learning all of these things, you got hyped, you didn't give it all your best shot because you got the excitement and the dopamine from the idea, which a lot of people, they start out that way. I know that we only hear the dramatized, romanticized stories of the lemonade stands, but there are more people who are unpublished, and that is because they have the experience that you've had. And this is what makes your experience even more valuable to our listeners out there. So, how did you become the salesperson that you were, selling all of that stuff, making that revenue, buying stuffs that you wanted, those big houses, those fast cars? Tell us about that story in between that time.
It's to realise that it comes to the stage where a lot of people get high on their own supply, in the way that they hype themselves up to being the greatest, or they get the bad case of the excuses, excuse-itis, where they just don't progress. For example, so I went through this stage, then I moved into being a chef, and being a chef actually was the thing that got me to the top. I got into a TV program. Well, I got through to the auditions to get on a TV program called Masterchef. Worked in really high-end restaurants like Harrods, places like that. And that gave me that pushed me in those jobs because you were doing long hours, massive high expectation on delivery. You had to deliver 100%. There was no excuses. I was like 15, 16, 17, working these high-end kitchens where, as you see with the Gordon Ramsay programs, they don't take prisoners. You can get sacked in an instant if you don't deliver. So the pressure's on to deliver your 100%. And that trained me to become a better person, to make the effort, to commit to stuff. But then moving into doing sales, I'd had enough of it all. So I moved into sales, and I wasn't great. I was okay. I was confident, or in enough way where people thought. I was doing the work, and I was looking around. And so we started off, I was doing door-to-door selling. And I'd look at other people in there, maybe hitting 5s, I'd be hitting 2s. And I'd be, why? I'm doing the work. I'm doing the effort. I'm smiling. I'm this and that. So there's something else. Now, this is the point. And this is the fork in the road that so many people get to, and it goes wrong. There's two sides of it. One side, they become blinkered to the problem, and they're like, it'll be all right. And eventually, all that happens is their expectation of becoming a 5 deal person goes down to a 2's actually all right. They justify it. They find the excuses. They find the reasons. And that screws them up for life. They stop pushing every day. They start just getting used to being mid of the road every day. Some days, if they do fall, they're like, yeah, I nearly caught the top guys. Or they look down at the people below them going, well, at least I'm not as bad as them. We've all heard these excuses. I wasn't like that. I was at the stage where I've been trained for the last 4 years doing the catering side, the chefing side, but I'm good. I can be good and I can be better. But to become better, I had to be better. I had to act better. I've got to do better. I had to stop giving myself the outs. I'd stop giving myself easy victory. Because in sales, the one thing we're good at is selling ourselves. You go to a sales room with low performers, I tell you what, there's a lot of explanations as to why no one's performing. The leads aren't right. This isn't right. The industry, the economy, my phone. I've got the wrong suit on. My tie's the wrong colour. They didn't like my personality, blah, blah, blah. There's all these things come out. Go into a room where top performers are. Don't hear the excuses. You might hear them get annoyed. You might hear them get frustrated. But they never blame themselves on stuff. Top performers that have a bad month, most of the time, are just quiet. They know what they did. They knew they didn't do any work most of the time. Most of the time, they banked on, if you work in an industry where it's high ticket and they make 10 grand a month, but they make £500 a deal on small deals and £3 grand on a big deal. and they've got a couple of big stinking deals out there. They think, well, that'll get me my £10 a month. And those two deals fall out of bed, so they come in middle of the pack. They know that's because they banked on those big deals. So they know where their excuse is. But it wasn't the fact that I didn't give 100%. I didn't try. I was daft. I was silly. I banked on those big deals. There's my mistake. So they don't bitch about that. They don't moan about that. They don't do anything. But people in the other office, they're not students of the game. They're not executing. They're not doing everything that needs to happen. So the excuses all come out. And I just didn't have that. So I literally would see the guys that were doing the 5. And I'd be like, hey, I need to come with you. I need to see what that magic juju is that you're doing. I went to the door. And it was weird because I'm like, they're not really doing much different. It wasn't massively different. So there's a little thing there where you go, huh? Is it me? This is what I started. I was like, is it me? Did I just like his face? And I'd say to him after, go, mate, it's literally what I do. And no, it's not. He went, it's not what you do. He said, it's close to what you do. It's not what you do. And his analogy was this. He said, so there's a TV program in the UK, which is terrible, called Hollyoaks. And it's one of these soap programs. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Awful. But again, got a good budget, a lot of actors. It's on TV, so it's got a certain standard, but it's a bit of a cheesy program. And he was like, I'm Robert De Niro, you're Hollyoaks. And I was like, what? And he's like, my delivery is everything. My effort is everything. If Robert De Niro walks into your room, you know his presence, you know his effort, you have an expectation from that guy. He has an expectation from him. If you're on some B-list, C-list soap drama, a lot of people are getting beat for their boots. They think they're greater than they are. They've stopped learning. They've made it because they're on a TV program. And so he was like, he's like, I'm Robert De Niro, you're Hollyoaks. And I literally, from that point, was like, I need to be more Robert De Niro. I need to commit to this. I need to craft myself. And I've become a really good student. And I learned, like we said earlier, podcasts. I think if you go back over the last 8 years, the longest I haven't done a podcast or listened to a podcast or done something would be 2 weeks. Now, that's the longest in probably 8 years. And that's because I'm honest with myself. A lot of people are like, no, I do it every day. You don't do it every day. Some days you're too busy. But typically, if you take a month, 30 days, I'll do 25 days, typically, will be podcasts. Some days will be 2, 3 podcasts. Other days I won't do one. You're becoming a student of the game. And all these things change. And if you keep fighting, if you keep getting in the ring, if you keep getting punched, there's 2 things that's going to happen. You're going to end up covered in bruises, or you're going to learn to move better. And so that was really what happened. So over time, I became better. I made myself better. I become a student of the game. And that delivers results. If you got moved to Russia tomorrow and you don't learn the language, you're hoping that someone else is going to know English. But what if you didn't find anyone who knew English? You would have to go through the suffering and the learning, because otherwise you'll die. Because if you've got to interact with people, you don't know the lingo, imagine having to do that. It would be easier to go to a class where you've got a teacher. And that's what I did. So I found teachers, I found students, I found mentors that could lead me to where I wanted to go.
That's awesome. And you had over 15 years getting bruised and beat up and learning from that and getting better and better, getting better and better in sales. This episode is partnered up with Armoury.ph. Armoury is an online watch store and is the exclusive distributor of the brands TW Steel, Dion Milano, Fonderia, Luminox, and Mondane in the Philippines. Yes, folks, those are Italian watch brands. If you are looking to buy your next go-to luxurious everyday watch, go to Armoury.ph and enter the coupon code LS30. Armoury.ph delivers straight to your doorstep with a security tape to make sure that your package is safe from theft, arrives on time, and is guaranteed working 100%. Go to Armoury.ph and buy your first luxury watch today.
Ang challenge kasi with MBA, mas maganda meron kang entrepreneurial background. In my opinion, meron kang entrepreneurial background kasi MBA teaches you how to be a good manager. So if you start with an MBA, wala kang business, you become a good manager.